I'm curious about how some of those rules are different for you in the sense of, I know with international leagues there are rules in terms of how many imports you can have,
Yep.
how many domestic players. So if you could maybe talk about that split, and then also what sort of financial regulations you guys have in your league.
Yeah, so just even high level before we get too far too. So Mexico has a lot of different leagues. So I think a lot of people get confused, including myself when I first started. So there's the LMBP, that's a league that I'm a part of. That's the top league in Mexico. Then there's CIBA Copa. That's the one that ends like right about now or last week. And then they also have a league in Chihuahua, which is before that. And then there's one or two smaller regional leagues. So just rewind, LMBP is the top one, CIBA Copa is second, and then there's one in Chihuahua. So with LMBP, there's different rules with each league. But with our league, the top league, 4 Mexican-born players you have to have, and then you can have 8 imports.
Okay.
And you can have more than that as well. So we have an extra Mexican-born player, because there's always injuries. We have an extra import as well.
Okay.
So it used to be that you could be Mexican-American, passports mattered or whatever.
Right.
But I really like the rule change to have 4 Mexican-born players because it's we need to develop Mexico basketball. So with that, you have to, if you think about that, okay, so you get 8 imports. You can really, a lot of flexibility there. But you're probably going to play with more than 8 players. So that makes the Mexican-born players really important. We realized that really quick. So we got Gael Bonilla, who's one of the best prospects from Mexico. He started Barcelona's academy, went to Capitanes back in Spain last year. So we were able to get Gael, so he can immediate play.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Giron's another veteran Mexican player. So again, that puts our rotation right at 10 right off the bat. So it really values that Mexican-born player, which is important.
Yeah. And I imagine those guys probably call for maybe more money also.
Exactly.
Like, I know, familiar with a lot of the international soccer system, and you know, in the Premier League, for example, a lot of the English-born players, you know, they teams get paid, have to pay that English tax and stuff, right? So
yeah, and people, you know, they'll so what a Mexican-born player made last year versus this year, they're like, well, I'd ask because I came in completely fresh. I'm like, what did he make last year? I could look it up, but what did he make last year? But then I was like, and he wants this number this year. He's like, well, he's Mexican-born, and it's like, so guys could double their money because it's like, it's literally just supply and demand.
Exactly.
You can't be, just because you have a Mexican passport, you know, it doesn't count anymore. You need to be Mexican-born. So that definitely increased the Mexican-born value.
And my soccer brain is continuously kicking in, but is there promotion and relegation, or are they all independent from each other?
All independent. So they do Basketball Champions League. So it's usually one of the top teams. You know, Champions League, obviously, with soccer, it's like the winner of the league or top 2. It's a little bit different. I think it's like the winner of some leagues, like maybe the Brazilian league, but Mexico, it's not always the winner, but usually it's a top team. Yeah. And they'll play in like a regional tournament, but there is no relegation. So one organization, Guadalajara Astros, they're one of the best in the league. That's where we went 1-1. They have a CIBA Copa team, and then they have an LMVP team. So they have like 6 or 7 of their guys on CIBA Copa, and then a lot of their like younger guys are developing, and then 6 or 7 of them continue on, which is it's an awesome kind of farm system.
And in terms of your league, do you guys operate with a salary cap, or do you is it a free market? How does that work?
Free market.
Okay.
Yep. There's rights involved. So if a player had played with let's say Fuerza Regia, the team in Monterrey, if we're interested in that player, our president asks their president, "Are you guys willing to either rent or sell the player?" And if they say yes, okay. If they say no, combo's over. Say yes, then we can then negotiate with the player. And then at that point, the presidents will negotiate between each other on like what the price is for the player in terms of buying. And then, but that's how the kind of trades work between the 2 teams.
So very similar to European soccer model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any rights, so we just had to buy and rent.
Brand new team.
Yeah. But you can trade player for player, but we just had to start from scratch and get players without rights too, because.
And so I imagine there's no form of draft, correct?
No form of draft with this league,
Gotcha.
I know the Puerto Rican League, obviously G League, they do forms of drafts to enter the league. No, this one's, literally a free market.
And do you have any sort of combines that go on maybe during the off season to get looks at like potential prospects and stuff? Or
we would definitely like, that's one of our ideas. That's something that I would love to talk to the league about. Just kind of those like, those U.S. concepts, I guess, I think would be helpful just to get to know, because we just talked about how you have to have 4 Mexican-born players. It makes it that much more valuable to find the player 18, 19, 20 years old, to start developing them earlier, get them on a contract, maybe get them with a Ciba Copa team and then onto your team. So I think that would be coming for sure. I would hope, or we'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.